Today we are going to start the mechanism of urine concentration and dilution, which is chapter 79 from our guidance. So, when we drink more water, the osmolarity of the body fluids is disturbed, and the kidney control it mainly by production of more urine. So, whenever we drink more water, then even the osmolarity of urine increases. That is nothing but more urine is excreted out. So when low water intake, then example in desert situations, then the urine will get concentrated because it need to preserve the water. So in both cases the solute is equal, but the solvent varies according to the situation. So in both cases the solute is same, only the concentration of water changes. The medullary interstitium is hyperosmolar, that is the corticopapillary osmolar gradient. How it is formed, we will learn it further. Osmolarity in in cortex is 300, and it increases into the medulla, like first from 600, and it may further also increase to 1200. From cortex to papilla, the osmolarity increases. So it is hyperosmolar because of counter current multipliers of loop of Henle and urea recycling in the renal medullary duct. So hyperosmolarity is maintained by vasa recta. So it is produced by the counter current of loop of Henle, and it is maintained by vasa recta. Both are having the counter current mechanism. So but the vasa recta are called counter current exchanges, whereas the loop of Henle is called counter current multipliers. So why they are called multipliers, why they are called maintainers, let us see. And hyperosmolarity, and next, PCT reabsorbs both solute and solvent isoosmotically. So whatever the concentration of renal plasma flow, the osmolarity remains same. For example, it starts with 300, then even at the end of PCT also it remains 300, because the same amount of solutes and water are reabsorbed in the case of proximal convoluted tubule. Loop of Henle, it has ascending tube which shows a counter current mechanism. That is, the water are impermeable here, so most of the solutes move out and make the interstitium hyperosmolar by dumping all solutes into it. So directly we have come now from the PCT into the ascending tube of loop of Henle. We have discarded descending loop, because we already discussed that the descending loop of Henle, it has water permeable, lot of water will get out, and even the solutes will come into it. So the osmolarity will increase, the osmolarity of the fluid may increase in the descending loop of Henle. Coming to the ascending loop of Henle, it is water impermeable, that only the here the osmolarity is getting diluted inside the tube, but the medullary interstitium is getting hyperosmolar. So you can see that ascending loop of Henle is acting in a two ways. It is diluting the tubular fluid, whereas it is concentrating or hyperosmolar in the medulla. So next, ascending loop of Henle is medullary diluting. It is also called as medullary diluting segment, because inside the tubular fluid is getting diluted. And early DCT, early part of distal convoluted tubule, is called cortical diluting segment, because even this early part of DCT is also having same mechanism. Here also the water is impermeable, so that the fluid will get diluted here. So why it is called cortical, because early parts of descending tubule, that is distal convoluted tubule, is in the cortex, whereas the ascending loop of Henle is in the medulla, so it is called medullary diluting segment, whereas the early DCT is in the cortex, so it is called cortical diluting segment. Only medullary collecting duct is urea permeable. It is present in papilla, and here urea is highly concentrated. Urea re-enters the loop of Henle and again come back to the collecting tubule. This is called urea recycling. So actually what happens is, you can see here the medullary collecting duct. Only in the collecting duct, that is the end part of our nephron, only the urea is permeable here. In other parts it's impermeable. So it gets permeability, it gets reabsorbed in that end part, and from there it re-enters the loop of Henle, and if it again come to loop of Henle, again it will come pass by DCT, early part, late part, and finally into the collecting tubule. So this is how it's continuously recycling. So urea recycling can enhance the osmolarity of the interstitial medulla. So we have seen that in an ascending loop of Henle, we have seen that the medulla is getting hyperosmolar. Even because of this urea reabsorption in the last collecting ducts, here also the medulla is getting hyperosmolar. The ADH amplify the urea recycling and countercurrent mechanisms. ADH also does urea recycling, because ADH does reabsorption of water in the last part of the nephron. Along with it will also recycle the urea, means urea is also reabsorbed, and also maintains a countercurrent mechanism. The high blood flow in the cortex and low blood flow in the medulla, so the solute concentration increases from the cortex to the medulla. That is the reason why the medulla is hyperosmolar. The vasa recta is also having countercurrent exchanges. In vasa recta, the first blood flows from upward to downward and later reverses, that is from the downward, that is from the medulla to cortex. So in the beginning it is flowing from the cortex to the medulla, but later from the medulla to the cortex. So why this is happening? Actually, the blood which is flowing in the vasa recta at the beginning, it gets concentrated, means a lot of solutes are coming into it, but in the opposite flow, when it is going from the medulla to the cortex, it loses all the solutes and again becomes dilated. So you can see it gains the solutes and loses the water as moving downwards, and now it again gains the water and lose solutes as moving upwards towards the cortical interstitium and finally connected with the veins. So this is the process. Next, the principal cells are sensitive to aldosterone and ADH. Principal cells are present in our last part collecting duct. There we have the receptors which are sensitive to both aldosterone and ADH. So principal cells are under aldosterone control. They mainly, whenever they are under aldosterone, they retain sodium and water and mainly secrete the potassium, means potassium is excreted in the urine. That is also called kaliuresis. Whereas when these principal cells are under the control of ADH, ADH leads to most of the reabsorption of water, so they retain water, so that you will get the concentrated urine. The receptor for ADH is actually a 7-pass receptor, which is mainly present on the basolateral membrane. It stimulates the 7-pass receptor so that ADH is activated. So this 7-pass receptor is also called as serpentine receptor, and the aldosterone can directly enter the cell, so receptor is present inside the cell. So remember, aldosterone have inside the cell receptor, whereas ADH have on the surface itself. So the 7-pass receptor's inner domain is coupled with GS, and its association with adenyl cyclase enzyme and converts the ATP into cyclic AMP, and now they are increased in the cell, and this cyclic AMP drives the protein kinase A, and this phosphorylates aquaporin to water channels vesicles, and they start moving towards the luminal membrane and get embedded in it, and now they allow the water to move into the cell. So actually there are some channel like water channels, aquaporins, which are present inside the cell. They get activated only when the ADH comes, so that this aquaporins now stick to the luminal side membrane, so that the water can easily get reabsorbed. So even water channels are present in basolateral membrane every time there are aquaporin 3 and 4. But water channels of luminal membrane are present only when ADH is present. So actually aquaporin channels are always lying towards the membrane of basolateral membrane. They are active, like mainly aquaporin 3 and 4, but in the presence of ADH only they will come towards the luminal membrane so that they can reabsorb. So the fluid in the ascending limb of loop of Henle and early late DCT is highly diluted. So this is why the fluid is in the ascending limb of loop of Henle and early late DCT is highly diluted. Why they are highly diluted? Because of hyperosmolar medulla, and the potassium channels cover them, so that they don't have a chance to reabsorb the water. So if the ADH is absent, the person excretes the diluted urine coming from the early late DCT, passing through collecting duct, because no absorption of water. But if the ADH is present, it allows the water absorption by acting mainly on the principal cells, and also due to osmolarity created by hyperosmolar medullary interstitium. So now water start moving along the solutes direction. Finally, the concentrated urine is formed in this situation. So when ADH is present, lot of reabsorption, so concentrated urine will form. But when ADH is not present, lot of diluted urine, because there is no reabsorption of water. So whenever there is high ADH, then high sodium, potassium, chlorine channels also improve. So more hyperosmolality is created in the medullary interstitium, in turn which also enhances the urea cycling and countercurrent mechanism. So by all this mechanism, there is very much hyperosmolarity. So by ADH, there is not only concentration of urine, but also there is hyperosmolar nature increasing in our medullary interstitium. So if a person in desert, he lose water by skin, lungs, excretory mechanism. As no water is lost, the blood becomes hyperosmolar from normal from 290 to maybe like 900 or so, because outside the temperature is very high, lot of water is lost. So inside the body fluid, that is the blood, is also becoming very much you know increasing its osmolarity. So from supraoptic nucleus, actually the ADH reaches the posterior pituitary by supraophthalmic tract. So hyperosmolarity of blood stimulate the osmoreceptors which are present in hypothalamus, and they initiate the supraoptic nucleus to release the ADH. So this is the mechanism by which how the ADH is released. Mainly about the supraoptic nucleus, all this we will discuss in very detail in our endocrine physiology. Till that you just understand that whenever this osmoreceptors which are present in the hypothalamus, they are sensitive to the blood osmolarity. So whenever there is a change, they get activated and they immediately release the ADH. So as the ADH is released, they reabsorb the water and they concentrate the urine in the case of desert. So ADH is produced and it is stored and released by posterior pituitary. So ADH from blood enter principal cell. So more ADH is present, means more water is reabsorbed. So urine is concentrated in this desert situation. So small amount of urine but highly concentrated. So in the example, if more water, so in the previous example, if a person drinks more water, in that case, then ADH is not at all released, so it produces diluted urine, because a lot of water, the same water which have come will be directly excreted. So we have one more formula like thing, tubular fluid divided by plasma osmosis. So the tubular fluid at the beginning osmolarity is 300, whereas plasma osmolarity is of course 300. So it is equal to 1 in the case of Bowman's capsule, in the case of proximal canalated tubule, because here the same amount of water and the same amount of solutes are reabsorbed at the same time. Whereas the tubular fluid and plasma osmosis mechanism you can see the tubular fluid is 1200 in the case of our descending loop of Henle, because here the concentration is increased. Why we know? Because the water is because of hyperosmolar interstitium in the medulla, the water will get out from the tubule side and the solutes start entering inside, so the osmolarity will increase in the tubular fluid. Whereas of course plasma osmolarity will be similar 300. So you can see here the value is 4, means it is nothing but it is greater than 1. So here greater than 1 means nothing but the tubular fluid osmolarity has increased in the case of our descending loop of Henle. Now let us move on to our ascending loop of Henle and also to the early DCT, late DCT, and even in the collecting tubule. So here actually you can see the tubular fluid concentration, it has diluted. We know why it is diluted, because the ascending part of loop of Henle is water impermeable because of the potassium ions which are covering it as a barrier. So as the water will not move out from the ascending limb of loop of Henle, so the osmolarity of the tubular fluid will decrease, whereas plasma osmolarity will be remain same. So whenever this is decreased, even this ratio will be less than 1. So remember, when the tubular fluid osmolarity increases, then this ratio will be greater than 1, but if the tubular fluid osmolarity decreases, then this ratio will be less than 1. Next you can see in collecting tubule late DCT, but when here ADH is present. So this is a normal condition whenever there is no ADH. So normally in our all persons now there is no ADH, because we are taking normal amount of water intake and everything is normal. But when you are in desert condition, in a dehydration condition, then in that condition the ADH will release. So whenever the ADH is released, you can see here TF is greater, means here the tubular fluid osmolarity will increase, because ADH will lead to concentration of urine. Next, in the late DCT, initially you can see even in the late DCT initially it will be equal to 1, because as ADH has released, now it will be greater than 1. So by this we can understand the physiology of our renal system. And next, once again we will see the diagram and understand the counter mechanism very well by means of our textbook diagrams. Actually by this diagram we can have a quick revision of our counter current mechanism. So actually starting from the PCT, this is the PCT. In the PCT the osmolarity of renal blood flow, plasma flow will be 300. Even at the end of PCT also it will be 300, because in the PCT cells the amount of sodium, chlorine, amino acid, glucose, how much of these solutes are going out, even the water will follow them. So the same amount of water and solutes are going out, so the osmolarity in the beginning of PCT will be same, and at the end of the PCT also will be same. So from the PCT, now let us move on to loop of Henle. In the loop of Henle, we know we have, this is the descending part, the thin part, descending part of loop of Henle. and this is the ascending thin part, and this is the ascending thick part. So first let us see the descending part of loop of Henle. Here actually you can see the medullary, this is a, so till here I will highlight. So you can see till here it is the cortex, from here it is the medulla. So you can see in the medulla, as we are discussing in our theory, that in the medulla the osmolarity of the medulla is very high. Why it is high? Because lot of solutes are dumped into it. First we'll see in the descending side, as the osmolarity is very high, so the water will of course move wherever there are more solutes, then the water tries to move towards that side. So in the tubular fluid, the water will try to move outward. As the water is moving outward, there is also inward movement of solutes, because solutes move from higher concentration to lower concentration. As there are very low solutes in the descending part of loop of Henle tubular fluid, so even solutes start entering into this fluid. So because of this, the osmolarity will increase to like about 600. So now you can see the before in the PCT it is 300. At the end of PCT also the osmolarity of tubular fluid is 300, but after passing by the descending loop of Henle, you can see the osmolarity of the fluid is increasing. So now this highly osmolar fluid, now it tries to enter to the thin part of ascending loop of Henle. Here actually you can see the sodium and chloride are getting reabsorbed, means the solutes are getting reabsorbed here. So this 600, the same 600 osmolarity of the fluid now tries to move by means of this our ascending part of thick part of loop of Henle. Here also sodium, chloride, even potassium, all this, and two molecules of chlorine, so these are all are reabsorbed. Because of this reabsorption, actually here in the cell the potassium will be lot of more, so it should be again secreted into the tubules and also into the interstitium. So you can see lot of sodium, chloride, everything is getting accumulated here, so the osmolarity is furthermore increasing in the medullary interstitium. So because of this, the potassium also forms a barrier, so that this part and even the early part of DCT is water impermeable. So water is impermeable means the same amount of 600 solute will be going here, but as you can see the solutes are getting out from this, means for example this 600 has now turned into 100. So you can see lot of solutes are taken out, only the water is remaining now in the case of our ascending part of loop of Henle. So now from here in the early DCT also you can see the sodium and chloride are again furthermore taken from it. So finally only the 100 osmolarity, so in the beginning 300, in the descending part of loop of Henle 600, in the ascending part of loop of Henle 100. Now finally you can see in the late part of distal convoluted tubule it has turned to 100, because now all the solutes are taken, only the water is remaining now. So this water now comes to the cortical tubule, that is a collecting tubule, cortical tubule. Next this is a medullary collecting tubule. So in this collecting tubule, actually here comes our ADH. So actually ADH have a capacity to absorb the water and also some solutes. So whenever the ADH is present, the water will be reabsorbed. This ADH will be present in the case of our desert like situations, because we don't drink more water is getting dehydrated, so to preserve that the ADH will reabsorb the water, but in normal conditions it will not be present, so that the urine will be directly excreted out. So in that case, whenever there is no ADH, this diluted urine only will be excreted out. But if the ADH is present, as the water is also getting reabsorbed, only some amount of water will be excreted out. And at this end point of this collecting tubule, we have also urea. Urea is also reabsorbed here in this end part of collecting tubule. So actually because of this urea reabsorption also, already you can see our interstitium is hyperosmolar. Urea also adds to it, and it also leads to hyperosmolarity. And this urea again may enter into the loop of Henle, and from here again it will recycling. This is called as urea recycling. So this is the whole process of our counter current mechanism. So one more thing in this counter current mechanism, main thing is, so here as a fluid is entering here, for example now it is 400, so as a 400 fluid here in the beginning 300, so as a 300 is entered here, but here outside it's 400, so as the solutes will enter, it will become 600, so this 600 will come here, and as it is 600, this tries to take more solutes, so that now it may go into 600 for example here in the interstitium. So if the interstitium is only 600, then here now it will become again 800. This 800 fluid will come inside and it will again come here. So now because of adding more extra solutes, it will again convert into 1200. 1200 is the maximum concentration here, as it will become 1200 here, and this 1200 here my fluid may become here also 12 you can take 900 like that. So this 900 will again, so like this the process continues, several cycles will go like this, and finally the urine will be excreted. So this is a counter current mechanism. And here we also have the vasa recta, which is it's a blood capillary for the loop of Henle, right? So this vasa recta also have counter current mechanism, actually not like this, like this. Here also the concentrations will be like 200, 400, 800. So in vasa recta actually the blood flow from the beginning as it is coming inside, you can see it will equilibrate along with the medullary interstitium. So the blood here will be 200 osmoles, here it will be 400, here it will be 1200. So you can see as it is coming towards deep into the medulla, its osmolarity is increasing because lot of solutes are entering inside the blood into the vasa recta. But as it is coming and again going back into the cortex, its osmolarity is decreasing from the 800 to the 400 and finally to the 200. How it will decrease? By releasing the solutes again back into the interstitium. So this is a counter current mechanism of the vasa recta. It maintains this counter current mechanism. And this is a counter current mechanism multiplier. Why it is multiplier? Because you can see as the fluid is entering, there is multiplication of osmolarity. So this is a simple complete summary of our discussion of counter current mechanism and concentration of dilution of urine. So this is how the urine will get concentrated and diluted.